Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yatre me sarasadrupe. Yatre me sarasarupe. Pratisidhe svasambhidam. Pratisidhe svasambhidam. Avidyayatmani krite. Avidyayatmani krite. Iti tad brahmadarshanam. Iti tad brahmadarshanam. Yatra me sarasadrupe. Pratishidhi swasambhidam. Avidyatmani krite. Iti tad brahmadarshanam. Yatre me sarasadrupe. Patishthidhe svasambhida. Avidyayatmani krite. Iti tad brahmadarshanam. Avidyayatmani krite. Iti tad brahmadarshanam. Yatra, whenever, ime, in all these, sarasad, gross and subtle, rupe, in forms of, patisidhe, on being nullified, sva sambhida, by self-realization, avidyaya, by ignorance, atmani, in the self, kriti, having been imposed, iti, thus, tat, that is, brahmadarshanam, the process of seeing the Absolute. Translation, purport, Vice Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder, Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Whenever a person experiences by self-realization that both the gross and subtle bodies have nothing to do with the pure self, at that time he sees himself as well as the Lord. Please repeat. Whenever a person experiences by self-realization that both the gross and subtle bodies have nothing to do with the pure self. And at that time he sees himself as well as the Lord. Purport. The difference between self-realization and material illusion is to know that the temporary or illusory impositions of material energy in the shape of subtle and gross bodies are superficial coverings of the self. The coverings take place due to ignorance. Such coverings are never effective in the person of the personality of Godhead. Knowing this convincingly is called liberation, or seeing the Absolute. This means that perfect self-realization is made possible by adoption of godly or spiritual life. Self-realization means becoming indifferent to the needs of the gross and subtle bodies and becoming serious about the activities of the self. The impetus for activities is generated from the self, but such activities become illusory due to ignorance of the real position of the self. By ignorance, self-interest is calculated in terms of the gross and subtle bodies, and therefore a whole set of activities is spoiled, life after life. When, however, one meets the self by proper culture, the activities of the self begin. Therefore, a man who is engaged in the activities of the self is called Jivan Mukta, or a liberated person, even in the conditional existence. This perfect stage of self-realization is attained not by artificial means, but under the lotus feet of the Lord, who is always transcendental. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he is present in everyone's heart, and from him only all knowledge, remembrance, or forgetfulness take place. When the living being desires to be an enjoyer of material energy, illusory phenomena, the Lord covers the living being with the mystery of forgetfulness, and thus the living being misinterprets the gross and subtle mind, the gross body and subtle mind, to be his own self. And by culture of transcendental knowledge, when the living being prays to the Lord for deliverance from the clutches of forgetfulness, the Lord, by his causeless mercy, removes the living being's illusory curtain, and thus he realizes his own self. He then engages in the service of the Lord in his eternal constitutional position, becoming liberated from conditional life. All this is executed by the Lord, either through his external potency or directly by the internal potency. End of report. Om Agyanam Tanandasya Agyanam Gyanantalakaya Chakshuranitam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutare Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachanine Nevishesha Shunyavadi Pastyate Satarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. Whenever a person experiences by self-realization that both the gross and subtle bodies have nothing to do with the pure self, at that time he sees himself as well as the Lord. Would like to see the Lord? Okay, first see that the gross and subtle bodies have nothing to do with us, or the pure self. So this section, the sages are asking different questions. They're asking about the incarnations of the Lord, which we're reading this chapter. They're also asking about what is the highest good for humanity, etc. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is not only telling histories. Purana means history. It's not only a history, but it's just not the stories, pastimes, events, but it's actually instructions for human beings, civilized human beings, so that they can actually become free from the cycle of birth and death. So here, after explaining the different incarnation and explaining Krishna's position, how he's an avatar, he's the source of all the incarnations, and then they're going on to the actual how does that relate to us? What is our relationship with that Lord? And different conceptions of the Lord, like the Virat Rupa, the material form of the Lord, because some people, it says, need to see something, to imagine something. So then he displays this Virat universal form, which is not actually an avatar, as a temporary form, which a few people saw, Arjuna specifically. And but Krishna says no one's ever saw this form before. But there were other occasions where people saw some part of it. But that's a material form that some people need to imagine. I never had that notion myself, but I remember someone, a bhakta, asking me one time, but I was also new, that the Lord must have some huge material form also. I don't know how he got to that, but he said the Lord has to have some huge material form. So then the Lord shows a huge material form, so he'll be satisfied. So I guess there are people like that. Otherwise, he explained he also has an invisible form, right? So he has a material form and an invisible form, and a personal form, as the Paramatma and as Bhagavan. Yes. So he has all to cater for all different mentalities. The Lord has different features. You can understand him in different ways, approach him in different ways, or different aspects of his personality or his existence. So it's showing how the Lord is coming all the time in different incarnations, and also as this Virat Rupa, and also he explains how he's also present everywhere in impersonal and personal feature. As a super soul, he's also present everywhere, so it's even within the atom. So how do we utilize this? Well, in the previous slokas, there's this little sections all about self-realization. It says if you recite this mysterious appearance of the Lord with devotion in the morning and evening, you get relief from all the miseries of life. So that's one of the things we want, right? To get rid of all the miseries of life. Actually, it's the main thing, because it's a miserable place. Krishna says, Dukkalaya, it's a difficult place. It's a hard struggle for existence. But because you're born into the struggle, and you don't know any different, you don't know a better way of life, then the hard struggle becomes normal way of life. And in between that, when it's not so hard, these are called the good times, happy times. We get some relief. But overall, it's a struggle with the gross and subtle body, which here it mentions we have to become free from that. We're not the gross body, we're not the subtle body, but you see all our activities are aimed around that gross and subtle body, mostly. We're approaching Krishna because we're in need. We're not approaching Krishna to assist him in his pastimes, even though he has no need. But only the pure devotees, they're doing that. They're approaching the Lord to increase his pleasure, but we're approaching the Lord to increase our pleasure by decreasing the miseries also. So, to see the Lord in his... So, it was explaining how the Lord is everywhere, but we can't perceive him. It says in the Prabhupada says, so these illusion, Prabhupada calls temporary impositions, like the body and the mind. So the body and the mind, intelligence, they're superficial coverings, impositions, unnecessary things. But one who knows that, it says perfectly well, is convinced about that, then that's a platform of liberation. It's not the liberation, you're actually perceiving the Lord all the time, or perceiving yourself. That's one stage of liberation, self-realization, to perceive the self. But there's stages of liberation and self-realization are not exactly the same thing. Liberation means you're free from the modes of nature. Self-realization means you're actually perceiving your real nature. So that's advanced. But in the other state of being convinced of your spiritual identity is different from the gross and subtle identity, and utilizing it in a way that is conducive for becoming completely free and going back to Godhead. That is also a liberation, because you're not getting any karma for those activities, gross or subtle. So then that's a platform of liberation. There's no more material reaction at that time while you're doing it. Of course, we're making constant choice. I like this, I don't like that. So sometimes we're thinking and acting spiritually, and sometimes it's materially. It fluctuates like that. We're coming from the material platform, that's our ground zero. Generally, wake up in the morning with the body, right? Then you've got to start caring for the body and cleaning it and stuff like that. So that's your ground zero, is the body and the mind. So this is a platform we're using, because you have to use the faculties of the body, the mind, intelligence, the intellect, to understand things. Otherwise, what other possible means is there? So you have to utilize whatever you've got. Even though they're an imposition, they're not necessary. You have to utilize them, because it's all you have to work with. Right? You have to make the best use of a bad bargain. And so Bhagavatam here is given the right way to utilize the material energy, and then it takes on an original spiritual nature. Because everything is emanating from the Lord. Everything belongs to the Lord. Everything is to be used in the service of the Lord. That's the proper position. When it's separated or not being used in the service of the Lord, then it's called Maya or material. But if you take the same thing and then use it again in the service of the Lord, then it takes on its original constitutional position as an energy that is serving the Lord. So we're using all these things, Prabhupada said, we're using the microphone, it's a material thing, but we're using it for Atma Tattva Krishna Katha. We're taking paper and book, but you're utilizing it for hearing about Krishna consciousness. So then that takes on its original spiritual nature. So that's not Maya. While you're using it, it's not Maya. While it's in use of service, then it's not Maya. So the chair, the table, the stand, everything is not Maya. But when we go, it's Maya. It's back to this original, except the Bhagavatam, is back to its original material, whatever, being, state of being. But when it's used in the service of the Lord, then it takes on it's properly utilized. So the secret is we have to learn the proper utility of the material energy. So this is the science. Therefore, we need Guru to tell us how to utilize the material energy properly, which includes the mind, intelligence, identity. Means we have to identify ourselves as the eternal servant of the Lord, not as a servant of the body. That the body is a encumberment. It's unnecessary imposition, and by identifying with it, catering for the demands of the body, I mean, you have to a certain degree. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending have to go on to a certain degree, but to become just absorbed in that, thinking that's the goal of life, that is called Maya, avidya. So be convinced. When you're convinced of that, that's one stage of liberation. Self-realization. Then you have to act in such a way, and that acting in such a way, that's called spiritual life or godly life. Which is like the activities of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. That's called godly life or spiritual life. It's material. You get up early in the morning, take a bath. What's that got to do with spiritual? You brush your teeth. You do all your ablutions. What has that got to do with spiritual life? No, you're getting it from a spiritual authority. This is the best way to deal with the body. Your body's when you're sleeping after more than 1 hour, then all the toxins start to come out of the body. So the body's impure in the morning. The bed is impure. So you don't take your bath, you don't touch the bed again. So you're pure. So your body is taken care of, so it's gonna last, it's gonna be fresh. Then you need to feed it at breakfast time, then you get more energy, then you have to go do some work, and you have to keep feeding it, you keep putting energy into it, and then you have to, and then the toxins will come out, then you'll have to clean them again, otherwise if you don't, you get sick. So this is a hard struggle for existence to maintain this great weight. Prabhupada calls the body the great weight. So this is, you're obliged to do that, and there's nothing you can, some people take the livelihood of a python or an avadut and they don't do anything, and they seem to do it right, but there has to be a good degree of self-realization, of that your body doesn't give you trouble. You become indifferent to the body. So it doesn't even smell, even if you don't take bath properly. Or so you have to. You're forced to act. The impetus, as Prabhupada says here, the impetus for activities is generated by the self, from the self. It means the pure self is desiring, because the body doesn't have an independent existence. So it's us, it's the pure self that having the desire, and because of that desire, the impetus to perform activities is generated. Those desires, there will be, you have like 3 main desires will be for fearlessness, happiness, and peacefulness. That's the actual nature of Satchitananda. That's the actual nature of the soul. Because the material world is not like that at all. It's a fearful situation, right? Fearful. Everyone sitting here with a mask on, you know, and a fan on, and a light, and you need you have to wear glasses. So many inconveniences are there. But because we're living like that, it's just suffering is normal. Then that's where it's not so bad, right? Because if you're born in jail, if you're born in the jail, prison life is okay. You don't know anything else. So let that forgetfulness about action, and that's Krishna gives us that. A poor little soul, Krishna covers him with remembrance, a forgetfulness. Prabhupada says here, the Lord covers the living entity with the mystery of forgetfulness. That's not very nice. Poor little soul. Krishna, he covers him with the mystery of forgetfulness. So how you know? What the heck are you going to do in this material world? You don't know who you are. What is the world? But you have these desires to fulfill. You want a desire for peace, because it's a fearful situation, and the desire for happiness, because our constitution, we're lacking those things. We're feeling that. So, but where are we going to look for them? You can't stop the desire, and if you can't stop the desire, then you won't stop the activity. So you can't stop acting, but for those 3 things. But all you get is a slap in the face when you go to Maya after. You get it for a little while, then it goes. You think you got it, it's something there, a resemblance, and then it goes. So then you have to. So the endeavor, the defending part of the 4 activities is most predominant. Mostly we're defending because it's a fearful situation. It's not a peaceful situation. But when you actually contact your real identity by the Lord's mercy, then that fearfulness will go, because you'll realize your sat aspect. So the sat aspect, it's like the eternal present. The sat, you're really in the present. You're perceiving the present, right in the present. So there's no fear of the future. You don't think about the future. And the peacefulness comes from chit, knowledge that you are eternal. So if you understand you're eternal, that's actually sat. There's no need to worry. Right? Our main worry is we're going to die. We're going to get injured. like that. But as Krishna says, the soul can't be dried, can't be killed, can't be burned. So if a person has that understanding, even theoretically, then he becomes a little more peaceful. So therefore, a person has this knowledge, has this understanding which is given to us, and acts accordingly, then he's called Jivan Mukta, liberated, even though he's in the conditional existence. And the Prabhupada says it's not the perfect stage of self-realization, because the perfect stage will be not only realizing yourself, not only perceiving yourself, but understanding your identity and your relationship with Krishna. That'll be perfect self-realization. So you can't get that, even the first part. You can't get that by artificial means. Very difficult. Very difficult. But Prabhupada says, under the lotus feet of the Lord, who is always transcendental. So if the Lord is transcendental and we stay under his lotus feet, then we're safe, we're secure. That is the secret. But to try to do it yourself, very difficult. Very difficult. And eventually you need some help from the Lord anyway. So, but that desire, Prabhupada says, when the living entity desires to be an enjoyer of the material energy, then the Lord covers us, takes away that remembrance of who we are, and then that continues, and we get more and more implicated. It's not just one lifetime; it's every lifetime. We're born into that ignorance of that we're the body, and as soon as the identity is there, then you're identifying with your mother, father, your country, your culture, your race, your religion, you start to put all these upadhis, gather all these identities, because we're searching for an identity, we're searching for our real being, the essence of our being. So these are something we can relate to in the material world, but of course this is illusory, they're just temporary situations. Because you're going to be born into another culture, another race, another color, another gender, right? Another language, and then the last one is you don't even remember anymore. But that one becomes important. So this is what happens when your actual forgetfulness is given by Krishna, that he takes away that remembrance, so you can't remember him, and then you just got to keep on moving around. So it's only by devotional service. Krishna's got to do it anyway, because it's Krishna that covers us with the mystery of forgetfulness, so he can remove that. So if one understands the actual position, becomes repentant, prays to the Lord for deliverance, prays to be free from the clutches of forgetfulness, realizing that it's by his causeless mercy alone that we can become free, and if we're sincere, then the Lord removes that illusory curtain, and then you realize your own real self. And then what do you do when you realize who you are, the eternal servant of Krishna? Then naturally you're going to engage in service to Krishna, because that's your constitutional identity as servant of Krishna. You're not anything else. But if you don't know that, then your self-realization is going to be very difficult. Then you have to take to the path of yoga or gyan. Very, very difficult. Very difficult. So that's probably what Prabhupada means when he says at the end of this purport, all this is executed by the Lord either through the external potency or directly through the internal potency. In other words, if one completely surrenders to the Lord, then the Lord takes charge of his devotee. But otherwise, if you're going other means, indirect means, then you've got to work for it. Then everyone else is to assist you. The demigods are there, but it's a lot of endeavor. And so either the Lord does it directly for his devotees, or he does it indirectly. It means directly he's working through the agency of the material energy, Maya Devi, because Maya Devi, the demigods, they're Krishna's energies, and they're working according to his will. So they can also gradually free us to a certain point, but it's very, very difficult. Otherwise, Krishna, so Prabhupada says, either he does it directly through his external potency, or directly by his internal potency, that we may not know how it's working. But it's all his energy, because the material energy, Krishna says, is working under my direction. It's earth, water, fire, air, mind, intelligence, ahankara. They're all his energies, working according to how he wants it. In a previous verse was talking about the Lord is all-pervading. He's always everywhere, but we can't perceive him because he's invisible. Like the sky or ether is invisible. You can't see the sky because it's invisible. But because there's a blue there, we say the sky is blue. Or there's clouds, the sky is cloudy. But the sky is not cloudy. The clouds come in the sky. The sky, blue is not the sky. Right? Blue is a hue, a color that's appearing, but it's not the sky. The sky is actually invisible. Everything is within the sky. But we don't see the sky. We only see people and things, right? We don't see the sky. So like that, the Lord is everywhere, but we don't see him. We just see the things within that space. That's what we identify with. But we don't see the background. We don't think about the background. But the Lord is all-pervading, just like the sky. That's one of his features, how he is everywhere. And then he has his as a super soul, he's also visible if one is qualified by yoga, visible, and also his personal the feature of Bhagavan is also visible by his causeless mercy, and our sincere endeavor when Krishna is pleased with that. Then he removes that mystery of forgetfulness. Then we can appreciate that he was always there. He's always with us. He's always everywhere. So he can manifest himself through the Brahman, his personality, if he wants. Or he can manifest as a Paramatma. He can manifest his form of Bhagavan. They're all different features of the Lord. It's spirituality within the material creation. But they're always there. But they're different aspects of that same person. But in essence, there's nothing but the Lord, because the earth, water, fire, air, mind, sky, mind, intelligence, ahankara, they're Krishna's inferior energy, like us. Secondary, the jiva is, we're the superior energy, but we have the tendency to be covered by the secondary energy, or illusory energy, inferior energy, material energy. But he's explaining that Krishna is not like that. So he's explaining here the difference between Krishna, when he comes in a form, he's not like us. He's not affected like us. His form is Satchidananda also, spiritual form. So it's clearing up a misunderstanding of the difference between the living entity and the Lord Himself. Because we are actually the same quality, but in quantity and ability, there's a vast difference. And we can never be equal, and He is always we're always maintained by Him. Right? If Krishna withdraws His air, His energy of air, how long will everyone will be dead in 5 minutes? Hope, right? So He's sustaining all of us. If He doesn't give rain or the moon, there's been no vegetables to eat. Then we'll eat each other, and then it'll be finished anyway. So He's maintaining us, always maintaining us, but we don't see that. Don't know how it's His energies. It's nothing but His energies. So we're nothing but Krishna's energy also. So you can't actually be separated from Krishna. What is separate from Krishna? It's all His energies expanded outside. So that is Maya. When we don't see Krishna in something, then that is Maya. That is illusion. It's not real, because Krishna is everywhere. You can't be separate from Krishna. You can't function without Krishna. You can't see without light. You can't see without night. You can't hear without air or an ear. They are Krishna's. So you can't function even without Krishna, from our experience now. So he's everything. At the same time, He's different. He's got a different identity, many identities. Different avatars come. He takes on different forms, but we take on many different identities also. But they're all Maya. They're all illusion. And as long as we're not satisfied in any of those forms, then we'll take another form. We haven't fulfilled our desire. Our desire wasn't fulfilled. It was frustrated. We're leaving our body when we wasn't fulfilled. There's fear. What's going to happen now? We don't know the future. Where are we going to go? Fearful situation. So you didn't get your peace. Your body is just a source of trouble. Whole life we've been acting as if it's a source of enjoyment, but at the end it's a source of problem. So you didn't get your Ananda. And you're fearful, and you're not peaceful. So you lose. At the time of leaving the body, if you're going away gradually, this is the situation. So you realize you lost. You couldn't get what you wanted. You failed on every account. Your peace, your fearlessness, and your happiness, you failed. Where is it? No one can help you. They're all there. All your well-wishers are surrounding you. They can't do anything. They can't give you any relief from it. So then we get another body. Try again, because we still have those desires, but we're still identifying materially, trying to, and looking in the illusory material energy for solutions. Then you get another body to try. According to karma, you'll get a particular body and try again. So when Krishna appears in multi bodies, multi species of life, like us, but He's not affected. That's the difference. He's always a controller. We're always controlled. So this is what the sages are given, along with these stories. They're given this information of the facts of life, what is actually going on. So it behooves one to take this seriously if you actually at all want to become free from this cycle of birth and death and go back to the blissful realm of Krishna. Then we take these words to heart, and it's not only the words, one has to put it into practice. It's not just by philosophy, it's not by hearing something or reading something that you're suddenly going to become Krishna conscious or you're going to see Krishna. It's not like that. That's telling us, you've got stories of devotees that do that, that found that. have had that revelation, Krishna's appeared before them, or they got their realization, but they're all doing something. They're not just, it just didn't happen by chance. They all wanted Krishna. Because if you don't want Krishna, he won't reveal himself to you. Therefore, the path of jnana and yoga, because they don't know the goal, they don't actually want Krishna, they're still seeking the truth or trying to understand themselves. So, because they don't want Krishna, Krishna doesn't reveal himself. So he reveals another, he doesn't reveal his personality or his supreme personality. So he reveals another aspect, because that's not what they want. But for the bhaktas, we want the supreme personality, we want to engage in relationship, in service with that supreme personality. Whichever personality we aspire for to serve, then that's reality. So if we're working like that, taking these instructions to heart and actually applying them, then one becomes a mukta jiva, jiva mukta, jiva mukta, a liberated person, even in conditioned existence. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Urakin, you can give back. It's not on.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class, wonderful class. When Bhagavatam in his purport says that the super soul is invisible, can't be seen, can you speak a little bit about what we do see when we see the jiva, and what we do see when we see the super soul? From my understanding, and this is a nice one too, the Brahma Yogi we think of as the effulgence of the Lord. But I read recently that the effulgence, the Brahma Yogi, is glowing from the millions of sparks of the living entity that are there. This is a nice way to imagine the jiva as a brilliant spark, as described there, and so forth. And then when we think of the super soul, the image that comes to the forefront is the one dedicated by Srila Prabhupada on the front cover of one of those books, one of his books, there of Vishnu, in four-handed form, very beautiful painting that we have in the spiritual world, authorized by Srila Prabhupada. That's from my realization. I would like to hear if you could expand on this in the purport there, why Prabhupada has left it as being invisible, and why you didn't go and say, well, go and look at the picture that was done by my devotee on the side book.
It's I didn't read where Prabhupada said the super soul is invisible. It means, but we could say he's invisible right now. We can't see him. We can't see him now. He's everywhere. He's within the atom. The Brahma Jyoti is invisible. He's always invisible. But the super soul is invisible because we're not qualified to see him. The Bhagavan is invisible because we're not qualified to see him. But when we're qualified, then he's visible. The Brahma Jyoti is never visible. I think that's what it means. He's invisible because, where is he? He's everywhere, but we can't see him. So if one is qualified, then one can. So first one has to see through knowledge, accept that he's everywhere, even though you can't perceive it. And then acting like that, then that becomes that knowledge becomes conviction. Then that conviction actually becomes realization, because that's qualification. Then Krishna gradually reveals that you can perceive him. You can perceive him everywhere. You can feel him everywhere. That's the first stage. But especially in the, like in the holy in Krishna's name, etc., and his other stuff, it's directly Krishna. It's not the material energy. It's not in that. He is that. But still, we can't perceive it until we actually, you keep chanting anyway. Keep chanting his name. That's purifying us because it's directly Krishna. So even Krishna's directly there. He's directly not visible until still one is qualified.
Thank you for the class. Only I have two questions. The first one is that as it is mentioned that when a jiva is repentant and he prays for deliverance, then the Lord removes this illusory burden. So how does this repentance come? How does this genuine repentance come in the jiva?
Genuine dependence.
Genuine repentance.
Repentance, okay. The two main ways one will be the association of a pure devotee. Then we'll see what it's like to be a pure devotee. In his presence, you can see what a pure devotee is like. Then you can feel sorry for yourself, because we have the same opportunity, but we're not taking advantage. We're not following, we're not surrendering to Krishna, we're still surrendering to our own likes and dislikes, mainly. But when you meet a person who's crossed that stage, who has surrendered to Krishna, then you get a lot of strength and I'll do it. And then you'll also be sorry for not having done it before. You could have done it. Or you get some revelation. The Lord opens the curtain for a little while and then closes it. Then you realize, what you're missing, and how we're not actually doing what the Lord wants us to do wholeheartedly. And another way is if you get a big slap, then somebody pulls the carpet under you, you get embarrassed, you've lost your reputation, like that. Then you have no recourse to just surrender to Krishna. Then you can what's the word? Pray sincerely. What's the word?
Desperate.
Huh?
Desperate.
Desperate. No. The word you said before. Lament. Not lament. Huh? Repentance, yes. Feel repentant, actually repentant. Because repentant is a great purifier. Repentance is a great purifier. But repentance means it's coming from your heart. You're genuinely sorry because you made a mistake or you didn't do what you're supposed to.
The other question is that in the first stanza of the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada is stating that regarding the needs of the gross body and the needs of the subtle body. So, a self-realization means that one is not is indifferent to the needs
Prabhupada usually says that you should minimize your eating, sleeping, mating, defending. You can't stop it, obviously. So but you can minimize it. It means becoming indifferent to the body means you're not catering for all your desires, running here, or, I want to eat this food or that food, or, you need food. But when you start to make distinction, I want to eat this, I want to eat that, then that's not so necessary. For you it will be. But, where do you draw the line? It depends on each individual's own tolerance level. How much you can tolerate, not eating, not sleeping, not enjoying, not defending. So if you want to be like Jabarat, or the Python man, he eats when the leaves come past. He was blowing past, he was eating that. When some pious people came, he was eating foods cooked in ghee, sitting on a nice bedstead with silk. And they was worshipping him, and he was eating nice food because he was quite healthy. Now he's not, but he wasn't endeavoring for it. That came along. Now he's not endeavoring for food. He takes some leaves. That's as much as he'll take and make. But that's, he's self-realized. He's got his peace, he's got his happiness, and he's fearless. It was a very, high stage of realization. So putting something in there, it's only vegetables, it's only transformation of earth, right? What we're eating anyway, food. So he's just doing it in a shack. Different type of shack, different type of spinach, leaves, trees.
So it's case to case. Can we say that it is case to case, like what is the need of one person is different from the need of the other person?
Everyone is different, yeah.
Is it case to case?
Yes. Yeah, it depends on how much you can tolerate. How much you can tolerate saying no to Maya. Make a test. Say no thank you, Maya, no thank you. See how during the day, how many times you can say no, if you're conscious of it. But mostly we're doing these things unconsciously. Where is happiness? Away from distress. That's wired in that program. So therefore, that's those association of the saintly people who actually done it, who actually made that, who actually followed the process, who actually got the mercy of the Lord, and they're doing it. Then that's what we're hearing here, But the Sutta Goswami, Sukadeva Goswami, you talk, and they're getting so much benefit from it by his association. You'll learn it. You know all the scriptures. You've served all these rishis with devotion. You've read all the Vedas. You've analyzed it. You've digested it. You're a fit person. So they listen to him, and then we listen. We benefit. We follow. Yes. At the back.
Perhaps you saying that Sat Chitananda. So I noticed that from the Sat Chitananda, Ananda, it plays a pivotal role on what a person decides, like what party decides. I was talking to one Buddhist, and this one Buddhist monk, and he knew about Krishna consciousness. But he said Krishna consciousness is too difficult. It's too. He couldn't follow it. He said it's better to be Buddhist.
Nothing.
And I noticed that in India, sublime life, like, like a life which is simple, divine, and even they know about Krishna, but it's like, it's complicated, I don't want to do that, I enjoy it, like, I feel more pleasure following this path. Could you speak about this, like, this tendency to, like, settle for something else, because it's more enjoyable, or it's more, whatever, natural?
About the Buddhists, but others, and it's actually Prabhupada said, when we came, Krishna consciousness came to the West, a lot of other spiritual movements began to spring up. He said that was because many people couldn't take to Krishna consciousness. Well, one thing, the four regular principles, that's austere in today's world. Who follows such things? Very austere. In the world today, who follows those four things? That's one thing, it's very austere. You gotta give up your sense gratification. So then, someone who's teaching karma yoga, they'd be much more popular. Now you can have your yoga, you can have your spiritual, you can get some ecstasy, and you can, regulate your life and enjoy it more. So they're more popular. Less principles, then you get the more followers. Right? So then your majority of the religions, it's quite simple. You pray, one religion they do once a week, one do 5 times a day. But what do they actually do? It's a little different. But this Krishna consciousness is a whole lifestyle. It's from morning till night, the whole waking thing. It's how you eat, how you sleep, how you enjoy, and how you defend. You have to change. It's a complete change of lifestyle generally for the materialist. For us, we know that. It's a very, very fine culture. It's like Varnashram. I appreciate Varnashram, but I have no taste for it at all. I mean, I believe it. I accept it as a great science, but it's so foreign to me that I think you've got to be born into a culture. If you're born into the culture, it's easy. So it's like that. To practice a spiritual culture from a material culture, it's not easy. Prabhupada said to start a spiritual movement in the material world is not an easy thing. And then you get these people are teaching something less, they're popular. Right? Especially if you can't understand what they're saying. Or because they don't actually say anything, right? It's substantial. Like some of these modern people you can see on internet, YouTube. They don't say anything. So everyone's, they don't tell you not to do anything. And they don't tell you to do anything, more or less. And they become popular because it means I've still got my independence and can do what I like. So that's the last thing that goes, is that's to surrender independence. That's the last thing. It's difficult. That's your false ego. So little wonder. Little wonder. And for a Buddhist, what's the point in taking on austerities? There's nothing anyway. So why although they do practice the sincere one. But if there's nothing, no goal, if the goal is nothing, then why you want to take a troublesome path? And Mayapur is the same thing, covered Buddhism. No, it's just they don't want to, it's not an easy thing to surrender. Not an easy thing. Prabhupada said, if I make one pure devotee, I consider the movement successful. Not an easy thing. Krishna says it's not easy. Rupa Goswami says it's not easy. It's very, very difficult. to surrender to Krishna. Why? You don't want to. The bottom line is you don't want to. There's a choice. There's Maya and there's Krishna. You think, why? I like it. What was it? 3 words? But I like it. If you say I like it, what can you do? You're independent. But we're making those choices every moment, so we can see ourselves how much we don't. We see something, the intelligence says it's Maya. We don't turn away. You don't win every battle, but you don't turn away because you don't want to turn away, because what Maya is offering is a sense of fearlessness, a sense of peace, and some happiness. One of those things. That's why you're going. Some security and some happiness. These are the main desires. And Maya is giving that, right? ABC, we know. Your sense is in touch with a sense object. There's some pleasure. That's our experience, right? And pleasure is what we want. So Maya says, here it is, pleasure. Works. Krishna says, I give you higher pleasure. So you stop Maya and you say, Krishna, where's the higher pleasure? He said, I'll give you, don't worry. So give me, Krishna. I didn't say when, I'll give you. Be patient. But we're not. We go back to, we want it now, you see. So who's to blame? Who do you blame when you bite your tongue? It's very rare, surrender. Huh? So, one of the characteristics of pure unalloyed devotional service is very rarely achieved. Where are all the pure devotees? But even by this, being a mukta jivan, in a conditional state of life, there may not be much realization. But you see, at the end of the day, it's Krishna who's going to lift that curtain. He's going to take away that forgetfulness, because he gave it. Who can take it away? Krishna gave it. So it's by the mercy of Krishna and his devotees that Krishna is going to take that away and reveal himself to you. But you have to be ready. Your consciousness has to be right. You have to be very favorably inclined towards serving Krishna without any material motivation. Otherwise you won't get that. The Supreme Personality, you'll get a lesser personality of Godhead. Like Narayan. You can go to those planets, enjoy on the planets, and same form, same, etc., etc. So it's the rules are here. Krishna's given all the rules and the information, knowledge through his devotees and directly and showing. That it's up to us to apply them. So as sincerely as you apply them, that result you'll get. But he's always independent. You have to remember that also. It's not that I've done this. No, Krishna's independent. Then you have to wait. The endeavor of the living entity. Tomorrow we will worship Damodar. So Mother Yasoda exemplifies that. So her great endeavor to protect Krishna from getting into trouble. She was trying to tie him up. But her great endeavor, and she couldn't do it. The whole day, she couldn't do it. Tying her up. No. Then when Krishna, and she's perspiring, Krishna, my poor mum. Okay. Let her tie me. So the endeavor of the living entity and the mercy of Krishna. So our endeavor is plays a big part. It's the main part, your consciousness. So do you actually want that? Are you ready to pay the price? Are you ready to say no to Maya on all these accounts? Krishna gives that freedom. But he's given all the rules. He's given the field. He's given you the faculty. in which to do everything, and he's given you the way how to do it, and he's sent help. Now you can take advantage, and if you take full advantage of that, then Krishna will do it. But that's a process. You don't get another way. That's the process Krishna's given. So you've got to keep going. Determination and patience. You can't do it overnight. You can't change your nature overnight and turn around and go back the other way. You can't do that. But it's the path is the possibility is there. You can do it. It's not. You don't have to be. There's no need of qualification for doing that, for practicing the path. That's not a criteria. You just follow it, and as sincerely as you follow it, and that sincerity means you're doing it actually for the pleasure of Krishna or his devotees. Then Krishna will reciprocate. Okay. Okay. Last question. Get it late.
I was just wondering, since there is no birth, death, and old age in the spiritual world,
if there's no old age, birth and death in the spiritual world,
how do we exist there? And do we remember about the material world?
sorry, what's the next part?
How do we exist in the spiritual world?
How do we exist?
Yeah. And do we remember our lives about the material world?
Nah, I doubt it. It's like a bad dream. You don't want to remember that. Hey, you exist. You exist like that. It depends which part of the spiritual world you go. Krishna's friends, they get up in the morning, they go to the Goshala, they eat something, they come back, take their baths, they take breakfast.
How do we exist there? Do we take birth there, or do we just automatically get there?
Do we take birth there or we automatically go there?
Yeah, you appear there. You don't take birth, you just appear.
Appear in what form?
Well, you've already been there, you just come back. It's just like you're going to go away to the bathroom and then you come back. Nobody says, where have you been? Welcome home. And time spans are different.
But we weren't in the spiritual world before, were we?
Sorry?
We weren't in the spiritual world before.
Were we not in the spiritual world before?
Yeah.
We were there.
Well, where were you if you weren't in the spiritual world? You're spiritual, right?
But Krishna says that once you come to the spiritual world, you will never get back to the material.
That's true. So go back there, you won't come back again. It's true. Once you go back, you won't come back again, Krishna says.
Then how did we get here from there?
That is a $64,000 question. That's a controversial question, but it doesn't matter. You're here. You worry about how to get out. That was Prabhupada's. Different devotees have different theories, which we not discuss. But Prabhupada says, Prabhupada's given an answer also, but he says, don't worry how you got here. You know it's troublesome. You worry about getting back. Spend your time developing your Krishna consciousness so you can go back. How you got here is not. It's like how were you born in that particular body, in that family? Why were you done that? You'll never know, unless you know Sri Kala Gyan, because there's something in the past. But it's not important, right? It's not important that you were born in one place and I was born in another, because we both have the opportunity to be finished with this birth and death and go back to the spiritual world. So that's all irrelevant. It's not worth discussing, really, why we're here and how we came here. It's not a very important question.
Do you also have their family like here?
Yeah?
Family lifestyle there also.
If you want, you have a family.
Will you be able to remember who are friends or who are parents or?
No. You may be with them, but you may not. They're not going to have the same bodies and the same names, I doubt. No, why would you remember the material world? It's like a bad dream.
I think he's asking, will you remember that your friend, relatives in the material world? When you go back there, you still remember them?
No. Why should you? Which friends? This life, the last life, the life before, you got billions and billions of friends and mothers and fathers. Which ones do you get a favorite? Huh?
Millions of friends.
Millions of mothers, millions of fathers, millions of children. Which ones are you going to remember? Which ones do you want to remember? Huh? Why are these ones so special? Hmm? But in your last life, they were special. Your family in your last life, they were special. Right? Your family in your last life, your mother and father were very dear to you. Your children were very dear to you. You love them, yeah? Your wife, right? Yes? But now they don't mean anything. Now you don't think about them, you don't want to know about them. Right? They're not important anymore, okay? Because you got a new set. Right? Right? So it's the same, you go to the spiritual world, you got a new set, first class. Why you want to think about these ones? These relationships? Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada ki? Yeah.